guys, so I'm doing this video today because I know that there's probably a ton of women out there that are trying to conceive or they're thinking about it, and I know that when we were trying I had a million questions and I definitely turned to YouTube for a lot of those answers. A little bit of background story because this is the first video I'm doing like this. My name is Carol, I'm 31. My husband and I have been together for 11 years and we just got married 3 years ago-ish. We have a little boy. His name is Lawson and he is around 21 months. His birthday is June 4th. So when we first got together, the whole plan all along was to only have one child. We only wanted one ever since, right from the get-go. We had a mutual agreement that we only wanted one child and we both agreed on it, and that's what we wanted. Girl or boy, we just wanted one. Fast forward 8 years later and I get pregnant. I was actually pregnant on our wedding night, didn't know. And we have Lawson and he's great. Like I said, he's almost 2 now. And we just started thinking about having another one. So we were talking about it. Obviously it was more me than my husband. And we started talking about it, and you start to wonder, are they going to be lonely? Do we need to, provide him with a sibling growing up? My family and my husband's family, they're not that large and he's never going to have any cousins. So that was also a deciding factor. So he would be growing up pretty much alone, like obviously with us, but he would be alone. So in the end, we decided to start trying. It is February 1st, and we decided to start trying last month. So I went through one cycle without getting pregnant. It was one cycle and I didn't get pregnant, and this month we got pregnant. So I just found out. It's Saturday today. I just found out on Wednesday, and Wednesday was the day that I was supposed to start my period. I do use a couple different apps on my phone. If you guys want to know what those are, just let me know. So I do use a couple apps. I've been tracking my ovulation and I've been tracking my periods for a while. I was doing that when I got pregnant the first time as well. It took about 6 months to get pregnant the first time. I was on birth control for, I think, almost 10 years. And then once I got off birth control, it took about 6 months for us to get pregnant. So I had Lawson right after I turned 30. So yeah, I definitely track everything. This video is mostly going to be about, I guess, how I got pregnant. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I am not a baby pregnancy guru. This is just my experience, and I'm just hoping that there's other people out there that are having the same questions or that can relate, or maybe you're pregnant and we're pregnant together and we can go through this together. Like I said, I am not a doctor, I am not a nurse, I didn't go to school for this. This is just my experience. So where was I? Yeah, so we started trying last month and I tracked everything. I tracked my ovulation, and I'm one of those women that when I ovulate and when my body ovulates, I know. I get the cervical mucus, I get signs that I'm going to ovulate. I believe that when you ovulate, it's like a 12 or 24 to 48 hour window or something like that, where the woman is actually ovulating. For me, it's a little different. The cervical mucus that I get it for about a week. Like, I get it for a very long time. So I can't really go based on that. So I did use the little strips that you can buy off Amazon that are super cheap, just to test your urine for when you are ovulating. And with those strips, the mistake that I made in the beginning was I kind of took it like a pregnancy test. Like, I would test once a day and that was it. And if there was 2 lines, great. If there wasn't 2 lines, then I was like, okay, I'm not ovulating. So the thing with those strips is because you actually ovulate for such a short period of time during the month, when you test and let's say you get, the faint 2 lines, test again, like if you test in the morning at 9 a.m., test again at like 3 p.m. and then test again at, 9 p.m. If that line gets darker and darker, your body is getting ready to ovulate, or you are already ovulating. Don't wait a day or two to take another test, because by that time your window for ovulation could have passed already. Also, the app that I'm using, you actually take a picture of the strip and it kind of gives you your the levels, like the different levels. So it'll, if you progressively take different pictures every day, or twice a day or 3 times a day, it'll tell you when your levels are the highest. And when they're the highest, it means that your body is ovulating or about to ovulate very soon. And then I believe you have a 12 to 24 hour window to have sex, or to have the sperm in you, so it could fertilize the egg. That's essentially how that's working. So when we were trying to ovulate, when we were trying to get pregnant the first month, like I said, I was only taking the test, like a pregnancy test, like once a day, twice a day, but I could still track when it was the highest. And we did have sex around that time. For the question of how many times or how often should you have sex, personally, like in my opinion, like I said, this is all my own experience. In my opinion, I wouldn't stick to every day. I would stick to every other day. Or if you know exactly when you're ovulating, then do it every day. But if you don't know, then, because the window of your ovulation time frame is normally around a week. So during, probably the last 2 days of that week, that's when you're going to be ovulating. So anytime before that, because the sperm can live in your body for 5 days, is good. So if you want to, have sex every other day or every day, then sure. But every other day is fine, or even the day after you ovulate is fine, because the egg is still released and in your body ready to be fertilized. So the first month I tested and I was super hopeful that we were pregnant, and I wasn't, which was fine. And this month, I tracked again, and my cycle day was actually, it was quite long. My cycle day this time was, geez, I don't even know what it is. My cycle this month was 36 days, which is, for me, which is a fairly long cycle. The cycle lasts from the first day of your last period until the last day. So until the first day to the first day of your period, that's how you determine how long your cycle is. Most women, if you have a 28-day cycle, it's 1 week you're off your period, 1 week you're ovulating, 1 week is nothing, and the next week you get your period. So that's normally around 28-day cycle. So I ovulated, so this past Wednesday, which was January 29th, that was Wednesday. That was 14 days after I ovulated. So that is when I should have got my period, which was Wednesday. So the first time I tested was on Tuesday, and I just used one of those like cheapy strips from Amazon. I tested on Tuesday and it came out negative. I tested in the morning before I went to the gym, because I was like, oh, I might do core today. So, not that that has anything to do with being pregnant, but I tested in the morning and there was nothing there. So I went to the gym, did the same old thing. And I came back and I looked at the test again, and it almost looked like there was like a super faint line. Like when you're trying to get pregnant and you look at these tests, your eyes can play tricks on you, and you almost see lines that you want to see even though they're not there. So I looked, I put in the sun, I was like putting a flashlight to it, and it like kind of looked like a line, but it also looked like it could have just been like the EVAP line that you get from tests. So I didn't think too much of it. My husband came home, I asked him, I put 3 tests side by side, and he picked out the one that looked like there was a line too. So I was like, okay, well that could mean that I'm pregnant, but unfortunately that was my last test, so I couldn't test again until the next day, which was Wednesday. And I did a first response test, and I'll go grab that actually, hang on. Okay, well that's not gonna work. So I did a first response test. I tried to show you guys on camera, but obviously it's not gonna focus. So I did a first response test, and that came out positive. And that came up positive. It had 2 lines. It was like a for real, no question about it, positive. So I had ordered another box of those like cheap tests off Amazon, and those just got here like yesterday. And so I did one of those, and again, positive. Well, the HGC level in my body obviously had gone up from the Tuesday, because I tested Tuesday, which was the day before I was supposed to get my period. And you see all these videos about women, you know, 6 DPO, 7 DPO, 8 DPO, 9 DPO that are testing, and they're getting faint lines and they're getting positives, and which is great. So you want to test. Like that 2-week period between ovulating and finding out if you're pregnant is the worst 2 weeks ever. So me, obviously not being patient enough, I wanted to test, and I was like, okay, well, if I test at 13 DPO, which is the day before I'm supposed to get my period, you should, if I am pregnant, it should be positive. That's what I thought. So I tested using these little strips, and it was negative. So I tested on Wednesday and with the first response, and that was positive. And then yesterday was positive using, again, these little strips. So just within a day, like the HGC level in your body can rise that much. But yeah, we tried 2 months, and now we're pregnant, and it's now Saturday, so it's 17 DPO. I will do like progressive test strips every day sort of thing until they come out like super solid, like the solid 2 lines. And yeah, like I said, I track my period, I track my ovulation, I do have cervical mucus. I never did the basal body temperature. I think that's what it's called, where you take the temperature of your body and there's like supposed to be a spike before you ovulate. I never did that. It just never got to that point. But I think that's another way that you can also track when your body is going to ovulate. But it's pretty spot on, like between when you get your period and when you ovulate and when you are supposed to get your period again, and testing. So don't be alarmed if, you know, you test at 9, 10, 11, 12 DPO and you're not pregnant. That doesn't mean that you're not pregnant. It could just mean that the HTC levels in your body haven't developed yet enough to the point where it'll test positive on one of these strips. It might be different when you test on like a, you know, a first response or a clear blue digital, but even those, I feel like they're not super accurate when you test so early on. So my suggestion is to track your ovulation, use an app, and also just wait the full 2 weeks. It's super hard, I know, and I've gone through millions of testing and ovulating and, you know, stressing about it, but just do your best to try and wait the 2 weeks and keep your fingers crossed. And if you feel like you're pregnant or if you have a gut feeling, just go with it. Just go with it, and if not, then try again next month. But I feel like tracking your ovulation is one of the most important ways, and also just being super patient and not putting too much stress on your partner or your bodies. When they say that it normally happens when you're not trying, that's what happened with our first. And there might be some truth behind it. So just don't put too much stress on your body, because your body senses that, obviously, and so does your husband. So just try your best to enjoy the process, I guess. Making the baby is supposed to be the fun part. Let's be honest though, if you're trying to have a baby and you're tracking your ovulation and you know when you're going to ovulate, I mean, by the end of it, you're pretty much begging for it. So give your husband some credit too, or give your partner some credit too, because I'm sure they're just as stressed out as you are on the inside. But yeah, don't stress about it too much. If you guys have any questions or comments below, let me know. If you're also pregnant around the same time, I'm now, I guess, I just put into an app, but I'm assuming that I'm 4 weeks and like 2 days or 4 weeks and 3 days. The app said that I would be due the first week of October. So if you want to follow along with my pregnancy journey, or if you have any questions for me, or if you have any other questions about, you know, family or my husband and I or my kid, just let me know. I will try my best to answer them. It's nice to have this sort of sense of community when you're going through something by yourself, or if it's something that you don't even feel comfortable talking to your friends about or your family about. It's just nice to even reach out to strangers on YouTube, and there's a lot of people going through the same thing, and it's nice to have that support, even if it's just through a couple messages here and there or following on Instagram or Facebook. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions for me, and I will keep you updated. Thanks, bye.